Ladies and gentlemen, we are live tonight for another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, and in today's race, we will end up getting to the Daytona 500, but before we get to the Great American Race, we first have to qualify and then run our qualifying race, the Gatorade 125, the Gatorade Duel at Daytona. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content on this Super Bowl Sunday afternoon, as well, not just Super Bowl Sunday, but it's Daytona 500 Sunday on the channel. Of course, next Sunday, I will be at the Daytona 500, so unlike last year, and then when I first started the channel, the very first stream was the Daytona 500 on NASCAR Heat for the same day as the actual Daytona 500 there in 2020. We can't do that this year, so we're going to kind of break trends, unfortunately, a little bit by having it the week before, but that is what we will be streaming here today. Like, share, and subscribe, though. We will have live commentary and much more throughout the course of Speed Weeks, including today's set of races. Doubleheader Sunday, of course. We will run our Gatorade Duel race, whatever number 1 or number 2. We're about to find out which one we'll be in once we qualify, and then we'll run that 50-lap duel race, and then the Daytona 500 will start at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time later today. So without further ado, let's get qualifying underway. Billy Kramer, Patricia Toms, welcome to the stream. First in the chat down below. 2 laps for Greg Biffle to try and set the quick time at Daytona. The Granger paint scheme on full display for the Daytona 500 here today. Biffle won from the pole at Daytona in the Busch Series season opener. Led 42 of the 120 laps in that race. Led the most, went on to win with a last lap pass on a green-white checker finish with 1 lap to go on Dale Jr. Furthermore, into the Speed Week coverage, Greg Biffle in the Budweiser shootout on Monday night earlier on last week. Finished in the 9th place position. Was leading at one point on the final lap of the race, and in fact led coming to the white flag, but the big one into turn 3 and all the way off the exit of turn 4 pretty much lasted when Bobby Labonte had flipped while taking the lead from Biffle. Big carnage at the front of the field allowed for Jimmy Johnson to go on to win that race after Johnson led 55 of the 70 laps that were scheduled for that one. We had a super speedway race at Talladega 2 nights ago on this game. As well, for the Busch Series, Greg Biffle was able to finish in 2nd place. It was Kyle Busch, Kyle Busch who went on to win the race. Last lap passed on Ashton Lewis. He was able to hold off Biffle to the checker flag. So Biffle's been strong, but we'll see if he can actually be able to go to victory lane this time around as far as this week on the super speedways goes. Brandon Harrison, welcome to the stream. 47th annual Daytona 500. It's actually the 2004 Daytona 500. The game is from the 2005 season. The game is 2005, but it's from the 2004 season. It's the first year with the chase. 14th on lap 1 for Greg Biffle. Remember, qualifying is only going to set the front row. So only 1st and 2nd will be accounted for here, and then the finish in the dual race is where you'll start the Daytona 500. Track position means a lot on this bumpy Daytona surface with these Gen 4 cars as well. So it is key to try to qualify on the front row if you can help it today. And we'll see, does Biffle have enough time to make up time on lap number 2 and qualify on the pole for the Great American Race today. 48.195 on lap 1 for Biffle. The 2nd lap seems to be better. He's a lot more stable down on that yellow line. But will it be fast enough to the start-finish line into the tri-oval? 47.977 5th and qualifying for Greg Biffle. So what does that mean? That means he'll be starting 3rd in dual race number 1. So 3rd in dual race number 1 for Greg Biffle. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, it's good that he's starting up front, but he's going to have to win this race just to start 3rd in the Daytona 500. This will set up the starting lineup for the inside row for our 500 later today. That would be Rusty Wallace's 23rd and final chance to win the 500. In 2005, yes, but this is the 2004 season technically, so Rusty will have one more opportunity after this. Dale Jarrett won the pole. 05. Jeff Gordon won his third Daytona 500 in 2005. Yes, Dale Jr. actually won the 04 500. I'm not sure who qualified on the pole or not. I'm sure, if I remember right, I think Dale Jr. actually won the Busch race as well. It got rained out, ran on a Monday. He won that race. And I think he won the Bud Shootout as well. Either the Bud Shootout or his dual race he also won. I can't remember which one it was, though. I don't know who was on the pole in 2004. Oh, wait, no, it was, no, Jeff Green was 2003. Who was 2004 pole sitter? Biffle, I think. I think it was Biffle. You have to correct me down in the chat, but I think Biffle was on the pole at 04. We just had this quiz the other night. Anyway, let's get the 50-lap dual race underway. Again, here are the rules. The Gatorade 125s or the Gatorade Duels will determine the starting positions for the Daytona 500. The first race will determine the inside row. The second race, which we will not see, will determine the outside of the front row. And qualifying for the 500, not based off of qualifying alone. The front row is, though. So the front row for the Daytona 500, again, based off qualifying. So first and second are not going to change in this race. Unless they DNF, they may start at the rear. Jimmy Johnson, who was fast already in Speed Weeks, he won the Bud Shootout. Johnson will be on the pole for the Daytona 500, hence meaning he is on the pole for Gatorade Duel Race number 1. Green flag is in the air. 50 laps to set up the inside row for the Daytona 500 later today. And what a great launch off the start for Greg Biffle in the 16. He took it 3 wide into turn 1, timed it perfectly to get around Jimmy Johnson and the generated driver who actually qualified in 3rd in the 123 car. Be interesting to see how much Johnson is going to risk racing hard with the leaders, because if he wrecks, he may not be the pole sitter for the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car right behind him. The Hendrick teammates potentially working together. Greg Biffle trying to block every lane possible off of turn 4. Contact! Car to the wall! Jeff Gordon nearly goes around. He's sliding on the front stretch. He got into the left turn. Caution's out on lap 1 of the duel. The big one on lap 1 of Gatorade Duel number 1. I didn't think we were going to see that. Jeff Gordon went around. Jamie McMurray collected, kind of stacked up the field behind him. McMurray slides into the grass on the front stretch. So Gordon got into the left rear of the 123. I don't know if he got tight or sandwiched. He was 3 wide middle off the exit of turn 4. And already a caution on the first lap. I didn't expect that to happen today. Restall Cup Jacob Shipman, welcome to the stream as well. So, caution on lap 1 of our Gatorade Duel. That is insane. Luckily, Biffle was ahead of it, but we saw it all out of the rear view as well on the replay camera itself. Green flag back in the air at lap 5. We'll have a single file restart this time around. So, Biffle will lead the first 4 laps of this race under caution. What a wild start. They usually say one dual race is tame and the other one is pretty wild. I think the wild one will be the first one that you're seeing right now with that caution on lap 1. Is that going to set the tone for the rest of Speed Weeks throughout the course of today's Daytona 500 as well? Johnson had a run down the backstretch. Gordon's still in it, as well as McMurray. They're both still in the race. And they're 3 wide again off the exit of turn 4. Johnson to the outside. He bounces into the wall. Bounces into Biffle. More contact. Jimmy nearly goes around. He's sliding all the way to the apron of the racetrack. I think they made it. Jeff Gordon is the leader. What is going on in this race? I don't know how Jimmy Johnson saved his race car. Remember, he's on the pole for the Daytona 500. He bounced into the wall off turn 4, and after he hit the wall, he ricocheted into Greg Biffle. And Gordon was already on the inside 3 wide, so Biffle's having a hard time just trying to keep it steady as it was. Once he had the contact on top of it, he had no chance. Johnson definitely got the worst end of it, and Gordon's pulling away. Looks like there's one car at the very back of the pack right now that has lost the draft in this 22 car field. Love the content. Yeah, I mean, this is an unexpected start to say the least in this duel race. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays forward. Now, we will have to make one stop. Drivers were able to go about 43 to 46 laps in the Budweiser shootout on fuel, so there's no chance that they're going to be able to likely make it to the end in this 50-lap duel race. We did have a caution that spanned for 4 caution laps, so maybe they can make it on fuel. I still doubt it. If we get another yellow, they may be able to make it. Getting wild on lap 5. It was wild on lap 1. And the guy who was involved in the accident, Jeff Gordon, that caution on lap 1 happens to be leading this race now. And that is huge if he wins this and Johnson could just survive to the end, because that would mean then the Hendrick Motorsports duo of Johnson and Gordon will start first and third on that inside row. Biffle, at least running in second right now, would mean he would start 5th in the Daytona 500, which is where he actually qualified. Again, Johnson has got to be the favorite. He might sweep Speed Weeks. Well, he's got to win this race if he's going to do that, and he's in a tough spot right now. All the pack, though, is still bunched together outside of the top 2 and the lone driver who lost the rear of this lead pack. Drafting help for Greg Biffle. He's definitely struggling. He's 2 seconds behind Gordon, who's got a little bit faster of a car than him. Getting wild in qualifying race. This is right where we picked up from the Budweiser shootout on Monday. And the Talladega race we also had on this game. The super speedways have been wild on this game. Got 9 people already watching this early afternoon qualifying race. Smash the like button down below. Wonder if we'll see anybody try to short pit. Wonder how many more cautions we're going to see in this race as well. Going to make the start of the Daytona 500 even more intriguing and interesting, knowing how wild this one was at the start, and it has half the amount of cars in it. Biffle's lucky he had a good starting spot. He's kind of been ahead of the carnage. The only reason he was, partially involved in a near second caution in this race already was because Johnson got into the wall before getting into him. Biffle really had nothing to do with it. That was... I don't know why I was down there. I don't know if that was a lack of... It had to have been a lack of concentration, but... I was just kind of riding the bottom, and then all of a sudden I was on the apron. I wasn't even looking at the chat when I did that. That was just a mistake on my own. That's sad. It's going to allow the pack to catch up to Biffle even quicker now, and 3.9 seconds, it looks like, behind race leader Jeff Gordon. 4 seconds back. So Gordon pulling away. Another Hendrick car towards the front of this pack. That's Terry Labonte in the 5. Biffle going to go a little bit wide. Biffle had a tighter car in the duel race the other night. The daytime conditions might help a little bit. Biffle does have a teammate, though, on that bottom lane. Be Kurt Busch in the 97. Biffle trying to work with Terry Labonte right now, but he can't really do that because Kurt Busch is still on the bottom. Labonte will pull down in front of Busch. Biffle will be more than willing to work with Kurt. Oh, got into his left rear. Kurt checked up when Labonte threw a block. Biffle pulls clear of the 5. Slides up, lets the 97 go to the bottom, so the Roush Fenway duo of Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle trying to work together here in Gatorade Duel Race number 1. And we'll see if they can pull away from the pack and try to run down Jeff Gordon in a little bit of a two-car tandem. They're 4.2 seconds off the lead, but they have a long time to get up to Jeff yet. And we'll see if Terry Labonte and others will be able to cling on and also try to catch up. Just a reminder, I have not won the Daytona 500 on these NASCAR EA Sports video games. Finished 30th in the Daytona 500 in our Chase for 8 season with Jimmy Johnson on this game. And then also on NASCAR Thunder 2004, the 2 Daytona 500s we did on seasons there, finished 2nd with Greg Biffle on our custom schedule season. And then with Terry Labonte, I finished 8th. So I used for the fan-voted driver season. So I've never won a Daytona 500 on these full race live streams with the EA Sports games. Gonna try to get our first today in our 4th attempt. Biffle and Busch are definitely gaining at least a little bit of time. About 0.2 of a second a lap on average, it seems like. Biffle not going to be too aggressive with the bump drafting on Kurt to get up to Gordon. Now, I did win the dual race at Daytona in that Chase for 8 season with Jimmy Johnson. That was really the only success I had on a super speedway that entire season, whether it was an exhibition race or a points race. Hopefully things go better in this custom schedule season. And I've got my Greg Biffle hat on today as well. I haven't worn this thing in a long time. One car very slow, working his way into turns 3 and 4. Appears to have a blown engine, trying to limp it into the pit lane. We also had some other cars pit that time by to the start-finish line. So drivers are making their first and only stop of the race as we speak. No points are awarded in this one, so even though Gordon is leading from the get-go and Biffle led the first handful of laps in this race, no bonus points are awarded to anybody leading laps. And that driver who blew an engine is finally able to get to the pit lane. Some drivers leaving pit road as we speak. Busch, Greg Biffle still charging on along. Lap cars are probably going to get in the way of both Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle. They're going to race to the outside. They're both going to get around the 123 car who started second in this race. I'm going to assume has probably fresher tires as well. And I'm not sure who the next car is in line ahead of both Busch and Biffle. But they're going to stay to the outside in the tri-oval. They're just hoping a caution doesn't come out before everybody else pits. Otherwise, they're going to get trapped a lap down. How many of those in the big one will have backup cars? Yeah, I know. I mean, Gordon had some damage. I would assume Jamie McMurray probably had the most damage from the accident. 123 car as well, and he's obviously lost a lot of track position. He's actually in last place in the 22 cars. Well, actually, he'd be 21st considering there is one car out of the race. Biffle not worried about anything right now. He is catching up. Help from his teammate Kurt Busch. Jeff Gordon's got a few lap cars to work with, though. He's not by himself anymore, so I have noticed that because he is not by himself, Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch seem to be running him down still with their fast Fords, but not as quickly as they were beforehand. Of course, this is building a relationship for the Daytona 500 later today. These two were teammates anyway, but they know they are working well together now. This could be a trendsetter for the race later on. Halfway on fuel at lap 20 right now for Greg Biffle. And that's even with the 4 laps under caution we had. Looks like they're burning more fuel in this race than what they did in the Bud Shootout on Monday. That race was a mandatory 2-tire stop. Biffle's crew had a fast stop that day, but this is probably going to be fuel only in this race. I don't think Biffle's going to take any tires. So we'll have to make sure he does not lock the tires up when he gets into the pit lane. Don't remember winning the fight. It's hard, especially with the share draft. I mean, you have to be so consistent with staying in the share draft the entire 200 laps, especially if you're doing a full race. That's part of why I've never won on a super speedway in the Cup Series. On this game, at least. In Thunder 04, I did win at Talladega, I believe, twice between the 2 seasons I ran. But I was never able to win at Daytona at all. Our first win in the EA Sports game at Daytona was when I won with Greg Biffle in that last lap passing the Busch Series a couple weeks ago. In the season opener there. It's the only race at Daytona I've won on the EA Sports games on the channel. Pretty big pack of cars coming up. Gordon's pulled away from him a bit. Jamie McMurray was involved in the accident on lap 1. Elliott Sadler also in this pack. Can't tell who else is in it, but there are 2 other cars. Kurt Busch getting a good pull off the back of McMurray off the exit of turn 2. Biffle's going to pull out of line on his teammate Busch, try to make the pass for second, and maybe cling on with one of these lap cars and race their way up that way. A little bump draft to the back of McMurray into turn 3. Luckily, it knocked the 42 sideways. Got to be careful with that. This bumpier surface. But Biffle is up to second again. Trying to get around Bobby Labonte in the 18. Just squeezes underneath him. Still sitting behind the 42 of McMurray. Into turn 1. Nearly 3 wide. Not enough cars on that bottom lane. Dale Jarrett also in this group. Biffle better either have a car pulled down to the inside again or get to the outside as soon as he could. Now he gets underneath McMurray. And the Robert Yates Racing Fords of Elliott Sadler and Dale Jarrett working together. Both of these 2 drivers have had top 10s in the first 2 points races on the season. Sadler, in fact, coming off a top 5 last weekend at the Dodge Raceway. Slow car in turns 1 and 2. Trying to also get to pit road. Looks like our second driver who has blown an engine already, just 25 laps into this 50-lap Gatorade Duel race. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Biffle a little tight getting into turn 1, barely kept it off the wall. Kurt Busch able to get by those last 2 lap cars as well. He's trying to stick with Greg Biffle. Sadler going to pull out of line. Oh man, that's Casey Mears on the 41. Big bump draft from Biffle to the back of the 88 of Jarrett. Biffle clears Sadler. Hopefully the entire field can get by the 41 of Mears. Still trudging on strong right now onto the front stretch. Mears should get into the pits and will stay green this go around. Kurt Busch underneath Elliott Sadler into turns 1 and 2. All these cars have been working that middle to upper groove today. early on. Tyler Burbeck, welcome to the stream. You got COVID. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy the Super Bowl later today as well. And hopefully you can recover from COVID quickly. Biffle didn't want to get to the inside of Jared. Jared moved up when Biffle had a run. Gonna break the draft a little bit again. And here comes Kurt Busch in the 97. It does seem as if Biffle's losing more time drafting behind Jarrett than what he was when he was drafting with his teammate Kurt Busch. Not working quite as well together. They're back to 3 seconds back. It was 2.7. I think Biffle's going to have to find a way around Jarrett, then try to get Kurt Busch in front of him again. Biffle's going to fly by Jarrett down the backstretch. He's going to pull up in front of him into turn 3. Jarrett going really wide, almost in the wall in turns 3 and 4. Kurt Busch drives underneath the 88. Got a big run to the back of the 16 into the tri-oval. Biffle going to stay wide and try to let Kurt Busch go. And he'll still stay wide again in turns 1 and 2. Busch drops down to the bottom. Biffle kind of clipped that apron again like he did earlier. Kept it off the wall that time. Plan on streaming NASCAR 2003 in the future? Like NR 2003? I don't have anything that... I don't think my laptop I have right now is compatible for it. Maybe down the road. The Fantasy League is open, but you can't put your picks in for the 500 yet. I looked at it yesterday when I was on my lunch break. And if you were in it last year, you're already in it this year. You don't have to re-enter. It's saved because the league's got like 16 or 17 people, whatever we left it off as last year. So everybody is automatically saved that was in the contest last season. But we've had a lot of new subscribers in the off season so far, so if you're not already into the channel, you can go onto the NASCAR mobile app or website, go to the fantasy portion, sign up with your email, and search for KRC League. It is free to join. KRC in all caps, capital L on League, and chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race of your choosing in 2023, excluding the Daytona 500. If you can win the regular season championship or the playoff championship. Mistake by Biffle down the backstretch. Yeah, that's definitely a popular game among fans and NASCAR YouTubers alike. I just don't have anything that I can run it with right now. $13 people watching this dual race. 19 laps to go as we speak. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Daytona 500 will be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today on the channel. This is our Gatorade Duel race number 1. Jeff Gordon's dominated this race so far after Johnson started on the pole. Gordon was involved in that accident on lap 1. Definitely tell he hasn't knocked the speed out of the race car. The Hendrick Chevys have been the dominant cars, to say the least, in these speed weeks. We even saw Terry Labonte running as high as 3rd in this race already today as well, in this same duel. Gordon leading the laps here. Jimmy Johnson qualified on the pole for the 500, and then Johnson also won the Bud Shootout on Monday, as well as leading the most laps, led 55 of the 70 laps in that race. It doesn't seem like Busch and Biffle are really closing in on Gordon anymore than what they were at one point. Biffle's not going to pit unless Kurt Busch pits, though. So he wants to have a drafting partner. It's going to be a fuel-only stop for Greg Biffle. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else takes tires or not. And it's going to be a splash and go for Biffle. I don't expect more than a half a tank of fuel at the very most. Try to get in and out of there as quick as possible. Yeah, I think Tuesday is the first practice for the 500. They have 2 qualifying practices and then 2 race trim practices. They'll have a practice Tuesday night, then they'll have a practice Wednesday before qualifying Wednesday night. Dual races on Thursday, and then they have a practice session on Friday and Saturday for the 500. Jeff Gordon coming into the pits. He'll give up the lead. Kurt Busch will lead his first lap of the race. Now the 3rd different driver to lead a lap. A lot of cars coming out of the pit lane once again. And a large portion of the 20 cars that are left in this race that have already pitted. Biffle has a run on the backstretch. Going low for the lead. Into turn 3, Biffle back out in front. In dual race number 1, 15 laps to go, this time by. He's going to stay out of the pits again, as will Kurt Busch. And Biffle will be the lead car in this 2-car tandem. Really hoping for a caution in the middle of green flag stops, so they can cycle out ahead. The 10 of Scott Riggs. Kurt Busch back to the bottom. Had a run, stalled out because he doesn't really have much help. And the Fenway group are side by side again. Kurt Busch going all the way down to the bottom, trying to break the side draft into turn 3. Biffle lines up again right behind him. I think Kurt might be coming into the pits this time by, and if he pits, that will mean Greg Biffle will also pit. And there goes Kurt Busch into the pits. Biffle also in. Can't lock the brakes up, but he launched ahead of him. Great job by Greg Biffle getting into the pit lane. He didn't lock the tires up, and he surpasses the 97. No tires, no damage to repair, 1 can of fuel, no adjustments for the 16 of Biffle. It'll be a splash and go stop. So a splash and go stop. And it was a clean one at that, only 7 seconds in the pit lane. And the 22 of Scott Wimmer, the rookie, now leads with 14 laps to go in dual race number 1. I think everybody else took tires because Greg Biffle's coming out light years ahead of everybody except for Jeff Gordon, who was about 3 seconds ahead of Biffle when he pitted anyway. Biffle did a picturesque, perfect job, though, just getting into the pit lane without locking the tires up. He knew he was going to take fuel only, especially if he didn't lock the tires, and he did not. Wimmer leads that lap. No bonus points again on the line for leading laps in this race. So it'll be a lead change when we get back to the start-finish line this time around. And Greg Biffle will be back out in front with what will be 12 laps to go in dual race number 1. Greg Biffle's about 3.8 seconds ahead of Jeff Gordon. I think Gordon's going to get to him. It seems like Gordon's got a little bit faster of a car and single car speed. On top of that, he's got 4 tires versus Biffle still on the same tires he had at the start of the race. Excluding 4 caution laps, he's got 34 laps on his tires. Gordon probably only has about maybe 5 at the most. Then there's a giant pack of cars much further off the lead. Kurt Busch is likely in 3rd right now. Haven't alternated through the camera angles in this dual race yet, so we'll do that when we get back to the start-finish line this time around. Lead is already down to 2.5 seconds. It's amazing how much quicker on fresher tires Jeff Gordon is than Greg Biffle. Biffle will try to hold Gordon off. Winner of this race will start 3rd, with Jimmy Johnson being on the pole already. And if you saw the end of the Budweiser shootout, I think this is going to be an amazing end to this one as well. I don't know if we're going to see the exact same ending, knowing that these cars have to be used for the Daytona 500 later today, but we'll see. It's going to be tough for that giant pack of cars to catch up. With the top 3 kind of spaced apart right now, they're definitely gaining ground, but if you look on the track map on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can see just how big of a gap that is. It's quite enormous. And there it is, 10 laps to go. Gordon closing in turns 1 and 2 with 10 to go. It's going to be hard for Biffle to try and hold him off. He's going to do his best. Especially when we get under 5 laps to go, a caution comes out, the race could end. Just like that caution on lap 1, that's been it for the dual race. But Biffle can't turn the car getting into turn 3. Jeff Gordon to the inside and will take the lead. Gordon leads. Another lead change at the line. 9 laps to go this time by. Biffle trying to stay in the draft of the 24. These old tires, it's going to be tough. But it looks like he'll be able to hang on. And he'll sit behind the 24 into turn 1. But Biffle's car is extremely tight right now. He drifted all the way up towards the outside on corner entry. Biffle just having a hard time trying to turn the car at corner entry with these old tires. He was tight at the end of that Bud shootout as well. On 2 fresh tires. He had to lift getting into turn 3 that time. That's not something you want to do at Daytona. When you're trying to hang on with the leader, is lift going off into the corner, but Biffle's having to do that. Especially now that he's in the dirty air, but he has a run in the tri-oval, back to the inside of the 24, who forces him down to the yellow line. I believe Biffle led that lap at the start-finish line. He was not able to, oh no, contact! The 16 is around into turn 1, and into the outside wall with Jeff Gordon also collected. Oh man, Kurt Busch piling in behind as well, further back. I'm not sure how that contact started. It felt like Biffle was holding his lane perfectly fine. I think Gordon might have just came down into him trying to side draft him. And the leaders have crashed in dual race number 1 with less than 10 to go. And that is not good for Greg Biffle. He's going to have to stay out, but 16, the 24, and the 97 all have damage. And that's going to make for a lot of these drivers behind them to potentially have a better shot now with the field bunched together. 4 laps to go on the restart. following caution number two in this duel race. Biffle just does not really have the speed in his race car again. Here comes Bobby Labonte. He flipped while leading in the Bud shootout. He'll get to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Even just getting up to speed into turn 3. Biffle was not able to turn his race car. Will they make it to the checkered flag? Bobby Labonte to the lead for the first time today. In duel race number 1 at Daytona, 3 laps to go. If a caution comes out now, the race is going to end. Labonte just trying to hold on strong. Biffle gets tight into turns 1 and 2. Stays on the gas though, keeps it off the 24 of Gordon, who's on his outside. Labonte wants to start near the front. Big run for Biffle. Clears Gordon into turn 3. Stays in line. It's going to be tough to get to the inside of the 18 with a damaged and tight race car for Greg Biffle. Coming to 2 to go. No cautions come out in the final lap. We'll go back to the normal camera for the final 2 laps of the race. When can Biffle make the move? Actually stuck it pretty well that time on the bottom lane. Biffle has much older tires than everybody else. Look at Labonte gap him in the center of the corner, but does Labonte have too big of a gap as they work their way down the back straightaway? Biffle's got a pretty big run. Labonte got to go low to block. Biffle down to the yellow line. He gets sideways. He makes contact with the 18, and he's in the lead. Into turn 3, but now he's in the wall as he couldn't keep the car down on the bottom. That's what he struggled with at the end of the Bud shootout. That was a major block by Labonte, and Biffle got sideways, hung on to it, and he'll lead to the white flag. No cautions on the final lap. And Gordon back in it with a shot to win as he's in second. Labonte, I believe, fell back to 4th. Elliott Sadler is now up to 3rd place. Oh, car in the wall further back. I think Jamie McMurray got into the wall. Look at Jimmy Johnson, who started on the pole and has had the fastest car all speed weeks. He's all of a sudden up to 4th. He's on the inside. He's going to take it 3 wide underneath Elliott Sadler for 2nd. But Sadler throws the block on him. Biffle into turn 3. He's going to go up the track a little bit, but not enough. Sadler can't get underneath him, and here's the moment of truth off turn 4. Gordon's in the wall. That stalls his run out, and Greg Biffle will hold on to win duel race number 1 at Daytona. He will start 3rd in the Great American Race. Sadler by a nose finishes 2nd. Jeff Gordon 3rd after breaking the momentum off the exit of the corner. I believe Jimmy Johnson ended up finishing in 4th place, and Bobby Labonte rounds out the top 5 in duel race number 1 at Daytona. That was wild, to say the least. Have to wait for the starting lineup to scroll back through at the top. Looks like Terry Labonte will be starting last in the Daytona 500, having to come from the back. He was the first driver that blew an engine in this race. There's somebody else that was limping it back to the finish at the very end. So I think there were 3 drivers who DNF'd. Greg Biffle gonna win it. The fuel-only strategy at the end, I guess, helped him out, even surviving the restart. Ryan Newman qualified on the outside of the front row, and Rusty Wallace won duel race number 2. So the Penske Dodge is looking pretty quick as well, with Newman on the outside of the front row, the Rocket Man, of course, and then Rusty Wallace won duel race number 2. Because he will be starting in 4th. So that is going to be it. And just like the first season in this game with the dual races, I won it. But now can we get a better finish in the 500? Because I finished 30th in our Chase for 8 season. Again, I finished 8th with our Terry Labonte season on NASCAR Thunder 2004, the fan-voted season. Then our custom schedule season on NASCAR Thunder 2004, I ended up finishing in 2nd. So have not won the 500 on these old games. We're 0 for 3. We'll see if we can get it done today. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys in about another hour for the start of our Daytona 500. And again, like, share, and subscribe. On the road to 10,000 subs. On the road, of course, to Daytona, 7 days away. I'll see you guys in about another 60 minutes.